the Undisputed Lightweight Championship between Katie Taylor and Delfine Persoon. The first fight was one of the best fights. Forget men's boxing, forget women's boxing, was one of the best fights I've ever witnessed live. 20,000 people on their feet at Madison Square Garden. And this Saturday we're in Matchroom Square Garden, behind closed doors. And it's such a thrill to be able to hold a show like this, fights like this, coming through the pandemic. This card is the biggest card by a mile since boxing has returned. And I personally want to thank both of you two ladies for accepting this fight and accepting the challenge after such a brutal war last time out at Madison Square Garden. Firstly, Delfine, I'll start with you. Welcome. Again, you look in tremendous condition. You look super strong. You've been training hard here this week. We know you felt like you were surprised to get this opportunity, but this Saturday night, you want to leave no stone unturned and make sure you are victorious against Katie Taylor.
Yes, this Saturday night, it's my chance to reprove I'm a high-level female boxer also, and that the first fight there were people thought Katie won, other people thought I won. It's on me to prove that I'm also deserve the titles and that I'm stand there in New York, and that was for us not a correct decision.
You looked disappointed in the ring after. You know, we had some online press conferences as well. Having watched the fight back, you still believe you won that fight in New York last year?
I think everybody thinks on his way. If we see the fight, we think we deserve. There are other people that think Katie deserves. So it's good there is a rematch, and there is, how do you say it, you can see now who is the best fighter and who can hopefully the correct fighter of there's a good fight, and that the correct fighter can win this fight. And it's going to be hopefully also a very, very good high-level boxing fight for female boxing.
Yeah, do you give Katie that credit of taking this fight again? I think I've heard you or your team say you're quite surprised that, you know, she did give you the rematch. She didn't have to do it, but obviously people want to see it, and I think she wants to prove that she's the best. You want to prove you're the best. Did you think that the rematch would come in your career?
We don't think. We already changed from category because lightweight was closed with Katie Taylor, super lightweight was closed with McCaskill, so we got no titles to get for it. So we say what we're gonna do, and I changed to super featherweight to get the titles there. But yeah, we were very surprised because we don't think Katie gonna take this risk, because for her it's a big risk. It's her life. She earned her money with the box, and if she lost this fight, it's not good for her career. So yeah, I appreciated that she take this big risk, because we don't think it.
And finally, people saying that Katie got drawn into a war with you in New York and she's got to box smarter in this fight. Are we going to see the same thing from Delfine Persoon from the first round we saw in New York, just 110 miles an hour, non-stop work rate and just piling the pressure on Katie Taylor?
They say this is a war, but for us, this is boxing. You punch, you go back, punch back. How do you say? Block a punch, slip a punch. That's a way of boxing also. It's not a war. If you the grappling and then the holding, that's not the box sport. But if you box offensive and you jab and you work, that's a way of boxing. It's maybe for people it's like a war, but it's my way of boxing.
I saw some comments from you saying, you know, to Katie, is that making sure she engages with you? You say, you know, don't run, don't hold, let's stand and fight. Is that what you want on Saturday night? Is that the kind of fight you want from Katie Taylor?
I want to show that female boxers also can box like men. Here where I live in Belgium, there are not a lot of female boxing and boxers, and I always train with men. And if you train always with men, this is like sparrings. They are like this. They don't on the sparrings with me. They don't hold in. They spar, so I'm prepared for hard fights. Maybe that's the way I'm box is. Maybe I always train with men, so that makes my fight. But yeah, Katie had her plan. Is it is technical or tactical? It's also a way of boxing, and I respect her way of boxing. Everybody had his way of boxing, and yeah, it's for me to prove Saturday with my style of boxing, the same of in New York, but still a little bit more better. The faults I make in New York, we trained on this, so we don't make these mistakes anymore. So this, yeah, for to go more better and to prove me on Saturday.
Well, Katie, of course, you always step up the challenges. A lot of people surprised you took this opportunity. I wasn't. You know, when the Serrano fight fell through, I knew you would accept this fight. I knew you always knew this time would come again. How excited are you ahead of this fight on Saturday night?
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. I said before, this is why I'm in the sport of boxing for, to take fights like this. This is a legacy building fight for myself and for Delfine, and we're both in the sport to prove that we're the best, and we have two fighters here who absolutely believe that we're going to win on Saturday night, and that's what makes this such a fantastic fight. I want to be involved in the biggest fights possible, and that's why I took this rematch.
We know that you always don't search for credit, but it's nice to get credit for the performances. And I guess the fact that anybody thought you didn't win in New York, there were people who felt could have gone either way as well. But has that played a part in your mind? I almost remember when we went back to the changing room, you were elated that you were undisputed champion, but I could tell that you weren't quite satisfied because some people didn't think you deserved the decision. Has that been a major factor to wanting to do this again?
I guess I just want to prove that I am the best, and I think there's going to be criticism whether you win or lose in a fight anyway, so I don't really take too much notice of what people are saying outside the ring, but I do want to prove that I'm the best, and this is why I train so hard. This is why I am in boxing for. I want to be the best, and I want to be known as the pound for pound number one.
We know in terms of skill set, I think it's unquestionably you are the number one, pound for pound number one. You're going to have to show obviously more in this fight, and you got tangled up in that at Madison Square Garden. I mean, I can remember like yesterday, the atmosphere that night was such a special night. Of course, Andy Ruiz went on to beat Anthony Joshua as well, but the atmosphere when you fought Delfine Persoon was unbelievable. This time with no crowds behind closed doors, is it going to be a little bit easier to get that game plan right with Ross? Obviously, you're going to be able to hear him a lot more and take those instructions in between rounds.
Maybe so. I haven't really thought too much about boxing in front of no crowd, to be honest. I don't think it's an advantage or disadvantage for either one. I'm just going to go in and try and produce a great performance. But, you know, boxing in front of no crowd, you have all the belts in the line. This is the purest form of boxing we'll ever see, really. And this is what I love about this. You're not going to see a pure form of boxing. You know, there's two champion fighters stepping up, taking a huge risk in front of no crowd. It's absolutely incredible.
And finally, last time, as I said, you had a war at Madison Square Garden, Matchroom Square Garden, this time around. But more importantly, we know that you can box and move. Do you expect the same thing from Delfine Persoon this time around? From the very first bell, she's going to look to make it rough and tough and put the pressure on. We know you like to box and move, but you're prepared as well to go to the well in this fight and do everything you can to be triumphant and keep your undisputed titles on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm prepared for whatever it comes my way on Saturday night. I prepared hard and long for this fight, and I'm sure Delfine is prepared as well. This is why it's only such a fantastic fight, as I said. But we're both ready, we're both prepared, and may the best boxer win.
Well, thank you very much. As I said, one of the best fights I've ever witnessed. June the 1st at Madison Square Garden last year. Do not miss this fight. The biggest fight in women's boxing, the rematch between Katie Taylor and Delfine Persoon this Saturday. If you could join us for a head-to-head up here, please.
Thank you. Perfect. Close to the back. Thank you.